Hello and welcome to chapter 11. The name of this chapter is Writing Formal Mails. In today's world, it has become very important to be able to write emails which are very effective in the way you communicate. Because of pandemic or because of COVID-19 or even in general, otherwise, a lot of information or a lot of communication is being passed on through the means of emails. So, to make our emails more effective and appropriate for our business or profession, we need to know how to write proper and effective emails, how to communicate via emails in a very effective manner. That is what we are going to see in this video. Let us see the contents. First, we are going to do introduction, then we will see the format of a formal mail. We will do the points to remember and when should you write emails. When to write emails is nothing but when are emails an effective means to communicate. The thing is, sometimes some messages are better conveyed in person or better conveyed by telephonic conversations or sometimes via emails. So we are going to see when we should write emails. When is writing an email the most appropriate method of communication? So let us move on. Introduction. What are emails? What are formal emails that we are seeing on this slide? They're addressed to people within and outside the organization. Therefore, the style and language should be formal, the purpose should be clear, and content should be lucid and precise. You must follow all the etiquettes of formal communication. So, whom do you write formal emails to? They could either be written to people who are inside your organization. Inside meaning they could be your bosses or your subordinates or even your colleagues or people who are in your team, and if you are working on the same project, then you would be writing within the organization. All these people will be covered. And outside the organization would be people who are your clients. They could be people who are your suppliers, who are your transporters, and all these people. Okay. Therefore, the style and language should be formal. Obviously, the language that you use should be business like. The tone of your email should be professional. It should not be friendly or it should not be informal. The language should be very business like. The purpose of writing the email has to be clear as to why you are writing this email. What message do you want to pass on through the means of this email should be clear. The content lucid meaning it should be free flowing. Whatever you want to say should flow logically one by one in a proper sequence. And precise meaning in short you have to convey whatever you want to convey. Follow all the etiquettes of formal communication. All the etiquettes meaning proper salutation, proper subject has to be there, introductory paragraph, then in detail the second paragraph. All these are proper etiquettes of formal communication, and also the closing has to be correct. Let us see format of a formal email. Now we have all written emails by now. By this point of time, everybody has a proper email ID. But in professional lives, now that you have entered CA Foundation, it is advisable to get a proper formal email ID. Not cool dude xyz at the rate whatever, or not cute girl whatever. You should have a proper formal email ID. Very important. Proper formal email ID means what? It means that your name has to be there in the email ID. For example, xyz at the rate whatever, gmail.com, hotmail.com, whatever you want to, wherever you want to have your email. Having this simple and proper professional email ID creates a good image about you. It creates an image of you being serious about whatever you are pursuing. Okay. Now, the format of an email should be from name of person sending the email. So let's assume you are writing the email. So from it will be your name of the person. Then to whomever you are writing the email, the name of that person. CC is carbon copy, the same mail being sent to other individuals with their email IDs visible to all in the group. So CC is nothing but you mark CC to people who you want to pass on this email as well, and everybody can see whoever is CC'd in the email. So it is not hidden or closed. So it is basically, if you want to send a group email, you can do this. BCC is blank carbon copy. The name and email IDs of the BCC receivers is not visible to the recipient of the mail, but her ID is visible to the BCC receiver. So blank carbon copy is basically nothing but a carbon copy which is being sent to a person whom you want to link to the communication, who's not directly involved with the communication, but you want to let that person know that such and such information has been communicated to the person in front. So basically, you just want to let that person know that you have communicated. He is not directly a person who's related to that conversation. He may be indirectly related to that conversation, and he needs to possess that information about whatever you are writing in the email. So these people are BCCs. It could be your boss. For example, if you are communicating something to your team members, but the boss is also there, he's related to the project but not directly working on it, but he needs to know what all is happening on your project front. So you can BCC him and you can CC all your team members. This is what BCC is. Then subject is like your letter, the way you write it in your letter. You should state it clearly and concisely. What the email is all about, you have to write it in short in the subject. Salutation is again dear sir, madam, whatever. If you know the name of the person who's receiving the email, it is always better to use that person's name. Main body is, it will be the main information or the main crux of the email that you're writing. It will have an opening paragraph and it should outline the main idea or the reason for why you're writing the email, and the following paragraphs will give all the relevant details meaning when XYZ work has to be done, who is going to do it, when is that person going to do it, who all are going to help that person to achieve that target, and such other information will be communicated by the following paragraphs. The first paragraph will always be the most important paragraph, introducing the idea for why you are writing the email. And the following paragraphs will be giving extra information, more information about what you want to convey. Getting it? Let us move on to the next slide. What is the format of a formal mail? Again, continued. Closing. Closing will be your concluding statement. Concluding statement means what? You will either make a suggestion or you will make recommendations to address the issue or problem, or suggest some give some suggestions to solve the issue, or you could also give a deadline. That's I hope that we will all be able to complete the work by such and such date. Or you can say that XYZ and ABCD and EFG are responsible for getting this work done by this date, or please revert back to me by this date. So this is your closing. Then attachments, if you want to attach any documents or any proof or any more information related to your email, you can do so in attachments. And signature line will include your name. It could also give email address, telephone number, or any other details that you want to include for convenience of the recipient. Okay. Then points to remember. What are the points that you should remember while writing a formal mail? First of all, be clear about the purpose of writing the email. Next is to make points about information that needs to be included in it, so that you do not miss out anything that you have to write. Making points is always better, because the person who's reading it will also be able to understand step by step what all needs to be done. Then your tone and language should be suitable for the intended recipients. For example, if you're writing to your boss, you will write it in a different way, right? And if you're writing to your team members or subordinates from whom you want to get the work done, you will write it in a different way. Basically, to your boss, you will be asking for directions or giving information. But to your subordinates, you will be ordering them, or you will be giving them instructions to get the work done by a particular date or a particular timeline. So that is how the difference will be there in your tone and language when you are communicating with the whoever you want to communicate, recipient. Use your official ID for all work related emails. So if you're having office related work, you will have a office ID. Usually most MNCs or most big organizations have their own office email ID for every individual or every employee. So all the official communication needs to happen through that ID. Okay, you will have a personal email ID which will be your own personal email ID, but official ID will be for all the office related work. And use appropriate salutations. Appropriate salutations, dear sir, madam, or dear, if it's a colleague, you can directly write that person's name. Or if it's a person who's very senior in age, Mr. XYZ, whatever, you can communicate in that way. Then there are certain other points to remember, which are you have to keep the mail short and simple. Nobody has the time to read like really lengthy emails, lengthy, confusing also, and complicated emails. So try to keep your emails short. Use short sentences to convey messages. Use a separate paragraph for stating different points. If you want to make many points, or if your email is going to be a little bit long, ensure to make a different paragraph for everything that you need to communicate. Do not put everything in one single paragraph and make a khichdi out of it. Ensure you are polite at all times. So you try to maintain the tone in a very, very polite manner. Don't use rude language. Proofread your email before you send it. So check for grammatical errors, any spelling mistakes, punctuation errors, all of these need to be checked properly. If you write a mail full of errors, it shows that you are very sloppy and you're not very neat and tidy about your work, or that you do not pay attention to small details. And errors can sometimes also even change the meaning of your email, right? So it is always better to proofread your email before you hit the send button. When you're framing a reply, ensure you answer all the queries that have been requested in the mail. Do not use slang or abbreviations or SMS language in your emails, please, in your formal mails at least. They make it difficult to follow and give the impression that you are very, very casual in your approach. So you should avoid using slang or abbreviations or even SMS language. Okay? So these are some points that you need to remember while writing formal emails. Yeah, I have completed these. Then when to write emails. When is it writing an email the appropriate way of communication? First of all, they are appropriate means of communication when you need to send information to or contact to a large group of people, right? Because it is very tedious or difficult to communicate to each and every person individually. So at one go, if you can communicate with 10 or even 100 people at one time, it is easier to write an email. When you want to send someone an electronic file or bulky documents or detailed information about any project, course, or product, then it is easier to write an email, right? Very big files are there. Big files as in number of pages is a lot, or even size wise in kbs or in gbs. If the information is too much, it is always easier to send it through email. You can compress it into a zipped folder and send it also. So if you want to, whatever you want to communicate is bulky or detailed, a lot of information is there which is not possible to cover through a telephonic conversation, then it is better to include everything in writing. And then it also makes it easier to contact people who are otherwise not approachable due to distances, busy schedules, or differing time zones. This is very, very important, especially in today's times when we have global organizations, when we have people working from different parts of the world on the same project or on the same idea. So they may have time differences, or they may have busy schedules, or they may have different languages of communication, or they may not be that fluent in language. If you're talking that fast, that person may not be able to grasp whatever you're saying that easily. So reading is much better in such circumstances. So that's why when you're it makes it easier when people are not approachable due to various reasons, where various barriers may be there. That time it is easier to communicate via email. Then you require daily communication on varied matters in an organization. Sometimes even if your colleague is sitting right next to you in the next cabin, you have to write an email for official purposes. The reason being that it makes a record of whatever you are saying, and the organization also you can CC your boss or your other team members, so it becomes proper way of communication to communicate. Then also you need a written record of communication. It is imperative that import emails are saved for reference to someone said in an earlier message to provide proof. Like I said, it gives a written record. So maintaining proof is also important, especially in our profession where we are doing maybe an audit, or maybe some engagement is there when a person is engaging us for a specified purpose. That needs to be communicated in a very very clear and concise manner, so that if there are later on any misunderstandings, you can always pull out that email and show that person that these were the terms that we have agreed upon and I have satisfied all the so and so conditions. So right, having a written record of your formal emails is a very very important aspect. You may even star that email or keep it into your archives folder in your email. So it creates a very very easy way of communication. You can always pull it out and show. The next is, when are emails inappropriate? Now we saw when it is okay or when it is necessary to write an email. Now we will also see when are emails not appropriate. That is, when they are not the best means of communication. So the first is, if the issue is complicated and involves repeated lengthy discussions, it is better to arrange a meeting with the concerned person or a party. So basically, if the misunderstanding is big or if it is a very very complicated issue, then writing an email becomes very tedious because it may increase the misunderstanding. So it is always better to sit face to face, sit one on one, and discuss the issue at hand and solve whatever misunderstanding or complicated issue that has taken place. The information is confidential and of sensitive nature. Your email can be forwarded to others without your knowledge. All your electronic communication is stored in the server even after you have deleted it. This can be accessed and misused by anyone. So, if the information that you want to discuss is confidential or sensitive or personal, then it is better not to communicate through email and better to communicate face to face or via telephone. Because even after you have deleted this email, the email will always remain on your office ka server and it can always be re-accessed or used by anybody or misused by anybody. Then do not write an email when you're emotional, distressed, upset, overjoyed, or excited about something. You may use words which can alter the tone of the message, and this can be misunderstood by the recipient. Besides, do not write anything in a mail which you cannot say to a person in a face to face conversation. Very, very important point. Mm, when you're emotional, it is always better to not write an email or to not talk also for some time. It is better to first settle your emotions and then write an email or write a text or write even call. When you're emotional, better to not communicate for some time till you settle your own emotions. Then it is better to communicate, because when you're emotional, you may promise something more than you can deliver, or you may agree to something that you do not want to do in reality, but under stress or because of certain emotions you may agree to it. So better not to communicate at that point of time. Relax, chill a little bit, and then you can communicate. And also, do not write anything in a mail which you cannot say to a person in a face to face conversation. दूसरों के साथ ऐसा व्यवहार मत करो जो खुद के लिए पसंद ना हो, right? So better not to use words or not to say some things which you will not like if someone said it to you. So these are some etiquettes of writing a formal mail or even about general communication. So this completes the chapter on formal emails, writing formal emails. There are a lot of examples that are covered in your module. I have also given some more examples for my students in notes that I have given. So, practice is what is going to make you perfect. Please try to write as many emails as you can in your notebooks or wherever it is that you practice. And let me know if you have any doubts. We will meet in the next video. Thank you.